Your own home is the great Australian dream, but with house prices continually rising, many Aussies are struggling to make that dream a reality.
But some good news this morning. There is a way to make it more affordable, and here to tell us how is finance guru Tim Guest. Tim, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Now, you have a solution called Rentvesting. What is that?
Yeah, look, Rentvesting, it's a surprisingly simple and increasingly common strategy that allows people to get into the housing market and build their wealth.
Rentvesting, explain it to us so everyone can follow the bouncing ball.
Essentially, the basic idea is that you're going to rent a house that you really, in an area that you really want to live, while owning an investment property that's going to be in a better growth area. So at the same time, what you've got is the savings that you're going to have by renting a house, plus the rent that you're going to get on your investment property is going to pay the mortgage. And this is something that we're seeing becoming increasingly more popular around Australia, especially as, house prices are getting pretty crazy. Melbourne and Sydney, places like that.
People have been doing this for a long time, right? Buying a house that you can't necessarily afford to live in yourself and then renting something that's a bit more affordable for you.
Yeah, so currently what we know is a third of investors actually rent the house that they live in. Okay, so we find that, it's just a really great strategy that allows people to get in. So we've got some of the pros associated with it. We're talking it's a much smarter, faster and cheaper way of getting into the market.
We were just looking at the cons there on the screen. If we can bring that graphic up again, just explain the cons, and particularly the dead money.
Yeah, so look, a lot of people are concerned about the dead money associated with renting. But if you're looking at buying or renting in an area that you really want to live, a lot of the time it's really kind of out of people's reach to do that. And what you'll find also is that the places that you want to live compared to the areas that are actually going to be the best growth areas are just very rarely ever the same.
Let's have a look at some of those growth areas. We'll have a look at some of your preferred suburbs around Australia. So start in New South Wales for us.
Yeah, well, New South Wales, Badgerys Creek, we're talking the site of the new Western Sydney Airport. It's going to be an economic powerhouse in that area, billions of dollars being spent in infrastructure and at the same time lots of growth in jobs. And you can get into the area for half the average Sydney median house price.
What about Queensland?
Ipswich is a great area there, one of the fastest growing markets. Once again, lots of construction, major infrastructure spending. It's probably the best growth market that we've seen in the country at the moment as well.
Victoria,
the Hume region, Craigieburn and Fawkner. It's going to be a key factor as a major cog in the Melbourne economy moving forward, and we've seen great performance over the last 12 months.
And Western Australia? Yeah,
Wanneroo is probably one of the places that I really like there. Major urban development, really popular with families and close to industrial areas that are producing a lot of jobs growth. And look, we've seen a strong recovery in things like vacancy rates and things like that.
People are no longer, I know you're a WA boy, so obviously I know you've invested heavily in WA, but people are no longer just looking at their home state for where they're going to buy.
Yeah.
Is Queensland kind of the pick of the bunch? Why is it that so many people in other states seem to prefer Queensland?
Well, probably one of the biggest things when it comes to property, it's not a matter of when to buy property, it's more a matter of where. We have multiple different markets around the country. And, I guess if you want to make a decision with your head and not your heart, you probably look outside of your own back garden and start to look at where the economy is going to be strong, where the population growth is strong, and that's what's going to produce the greatest growth.
When you look at the dead money that we were speaking about earlier that you might be, handing over for rent, if you take this approach, can you still come out ahead, say, over the life of the loan?
Totally. So I guess what we're looking at from a cost perspective is if you're looking at owning a home in an area that you want to live, I mean, we're talking close to the beach, in the city, those areas are normally out of reach for people, and owning a home in those areas is much more expensive than renting. So the savings that you're going to get from rent on top of the rent that you're going to receive from owning an investment property and the tax incentives involved actually make it a far cheaper, far better. You can live in an area that you probably couldn't afford while still owning an investment property, building your wealth, and that's going to enable you to reach your goals much quicker. Things like being able to buy the house that you want to live in or build your wealth and kind of live a better lifestyle.
I know when we asked about New South Wales, you nominated Badgerys Creek, which is a long way from the CBD. It used to be a bit of a rule of thumb that the closer to the CBD you are, the better, within 10 Ks of the CBD. Does that rule still apply, or are people being forced to look outside that zone?
It's actually probably one of the biggest myths that are when it comes to investing in property, that you need to be close to the CBD. I mean, what we're looking at is strong economic growth, where population growth is. I mean, the billions and billions of dollars that are going to be spent out in that Badgerys Creek area is going to produce major job growth, major population growth, low vacancy rates, and which is going to generate good growth.
All right, it's a really interesting approach. We appreciate your advice this morning,
Thanks
Tim.
for having me.
Thank you very much. And you can find more on 9saver.com.au as always.